What makes a place ours? Is it the people, the footprints on the sidewalk, the smooth road to the lake, the crushed path through the wheat? To learn to love a place is the same as wanting to grow with it, to continually reimagine all that it's capable of. Albertans know to dream the way dreams are meant to be, with each other. We innovate with bursting hearts and big, sky-wide ideas, because that's what it takes to make a future that inspires everything we will learn to love and build together. Alberta innovates. It's what we do. Learn how.
Hello and welcome everyone to Learn How to Build a Gazelle. So this is part of one of our many Learn How events that we will be presenting over the next year as part of our Learn How Alberta Innovates series. Please head over to learnhow.albertainnovates.ca to submit your story of innovation. And do note that you don't have to be funded by Alberta Innovates to submit your story and be featured on our website and on our social media. So welcome, I am your co-host of Shift by Alberta Innovates. I'm Katie Dean, and joining me today is my other co-host, John Hagan. And on the line with us, we have Sandra Candie, the Director of Global Partnerships here at Alberta Innovates. Welcome. Mike Riou, Technology Development Advisor at Alberta Innovates. And Dana Smits, Director of Capital Access and Major Transactions. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have you joining us. And I know that there's about 20 people watching us live right now, and that's great. Hi, everyone. Please feel free to pop into the chats, ask some questions and comments. We'll be moderating as we go. But the purpose of today is to really get an idea of the entrepreneur's journey. Where does it begin and where do we help? So Mike, let's start with you. I have an idea. I have a business. Now what?
Certainly. Well, if you're at the idea stage, chances are that you're a little bit early for Alberta Innovates and more aligned with the regional innovation networks, such as the Edmonton Regional Innovation Network. But if you're beyond that, you have a proof of concept, you're incorporated, you've got some customer engagement, or you have an idea what the market looks like. You've looked at the business model. You have a business model, or you're working on one. That's the point where we can get engaged and help you along your journey.
Great. And what's your role here at Alberta Innovates? Like, what do you do for entrepreneurs?
So I am a technology development advisor, known as a TDA. There are 10 of us around the province, and we work directly with entrepreneurs and companies, SMEs, to help them commercialize technology and accelerate their business.
And is there a specific type of company that you're looking for?
Well, we focus on companies that are commercializing technology. They're knowledge-based businesses with technology, and again, they're beyond the idea stage. So they've got some amount of work done toward their product in terms of a proof of concept or MVP.
John, you're muted.
Boy, how to get things rolling. Mike, you mentioned regional innovation networks, specifically the Edmonton Regional Innovation Network. Now, how many more are there, and does it span the province, and how do they work?
So Alberta Innovates funds 8 regional innovation networks across the province: Edmonton, Calgary, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, Lloydminster, and Red Deer. I think that's 8. But so we provide funding and we encourage the community to get together. So the universities, the colleges, the economic development agencies, they all come together and they work together to determine what's needed within their business ecosystem to support entrepreneurs. And then they develop and provide programs for those entrepreneurs.
And then we work hand in hand, we being Alberta Innovates, work hand in hand with those regional innovation networks and the colleges and the universities.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We're the TDAs are tied into those regional innovation networks and are at the table and play a key role.
So as the entrepreneur's moving through, they're past the ideation phase, they've got something going on. How should they reach out to a TDA? How do they know when they should contact Alberta Innovates and get that ball rolling?
So anytime, right? And ideally sooner the better, even if you're not ready. Because there's two things I can meet entrepreneurs at events, or they're referred to me, or you can come through the Connect with Us website to get into our system. And from there, there's an assessment made. If you're too early, that's okay. You're on our radar, and we introduce you to other players in the RINs.
Okay.
The regional innovation networks. So there could be somebody else that can support you in those areas. And then if there is a fit, then you would have a meeting with the TDA just to talk about your company, what your plans are, what your roadmap is, and then see if there's any alignments with our programs. And sometimes it's not even our programs. There could be partner organizations such as IRAP. There could be potential customers. There's introductions we can make. There's other resources within the province, around the province, that we can introduce you to.
So those technology development advisors then are a vital component to help with the coaching community and capital.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I have a conversation with an entrepreneur, if I can't help them, or if I know of one of my colleagues that has connections or a skill set that can help them, then I'll make that introduction, and we're there to help where we can.
So that's really great. Now, Dana, this question's to you. Your title is the Director of Capital Access and Major Transactions. That's a pretty hefty title. Where do you play a role in this client journey?
So we come at the later stage. So once a company has a minimum viable product, or MVP, we will work with them to help them scale rapidly. So we're looking for companies that have very high potential. The product is ready to go, and they just need that executive level support to help move them forward faster. So we can help with anything from pricing to strategy to hiring, operational structure, raising capital, obviously, like my title. Major transactions, I guess, is all the other things. That's our catch-all for all of those other fun items that entrepreneurs have to deal with as they grow. And we put in an executive business advisor that has been there, done that. They have the experience to give advice that companies need but cannot afford to pay for at the early stage.
So,
wow.
So the TDAs, when they're working through with the clients, they'll make a reference over to the EBA program. Is it kind of a handoff?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah, so the TDAs will help the companies get to MVP. So they'll help them make those strategic decision-making points as they move forward and work towards MVP. But the TDAs also continue on afterwards. Mm-hmm. So they'll refer them into our program, but we continue to both work with the client, and we work together to help move them forward.
And Sandra, where do you come in as global partnerships? You must be the, in the sky, airplane, frequent flyer of the team.
Yeah, I mean, all things that I love to do. So when we look at the client journey, and the client journey that Alberta Innovates been working on for several years, really does focus on different aspects of very early discovery, develop, and use. And my area fits nice and neatly in between the develop and use. So we help Alberta SMEs look for opportunities globally with a partner in mind. And because we know that Alberta market is so small and limiting, we need to help our SMEs look for opportunities to go global. And going global means that they have a trusted partner, that they can continue the technology development and can continue the sales and more commercialization, going right into testing it with a partner in a jurisdiction. We have 2 jurisdictions in China and Mexico that we have focused in on. But we're developing other aspects of the program whereby companies really don't need necessarily us to tell them where to go. We want to enable them and help them to find their own path and their direction and where they need to go. So we are working on, within Alberta Innovates, some other elements to get companies to that other jurisdiction that they might be interested in.
So why China and Mexico?
So China and Mexico have been longstanding partners within the government of Alberta, and this program is designed and was developed by the government of Alberta, and Alberta Innovates is the organization that really delivers the program for and on behalf of the government of Alberta. It goes back to memorandums of understanding with these countries and long-time relationships. The partnership program, in the global partnership program, one of the things that is so unique about it is that we have the opportunity to have our partners in the jurisdictions in Mexico and China also contribute funding towards their partner in that jurisdiction. So that way, a really small investment in some respects that we provide to our Alberta SMEs can be 4 times leveraged. And it's non-dilutive funding, so no one is taking equity, and still giving the companies the opportunities to really expand in those global markets with their partners, because they know better where the product can be sold.
Well, that's cool. And everybody's got skin in the game then. Now, when I want to talk a little bit about programs right across the board. And you made an interesting point there, Sandra, about non-dilutive funding. So Alberta Innovates has what we call the big 5 programs. The export readiness stuff that you have, Sandra. Are all of these non-dilutive?
Yes, they are.
All of these programs right across the board. So we're investing in these companies when they meet certain criteria and they hit certain nails. So that's not even the expression, but you know what I'm trying to say. Mike, why don't you walk us through those just briefly, like what those big 5 programs are, so we have a sense.
Sure. So we've got some vouchers and micro vouchers that's what we call them. And what they're for is to support service providers to either advance you from a technical perspective or a business perspective. So that's where it's cost sharing, so you have to have some skin in the game, but it's usually 25% from the company and 75% Alberta Innovates contribution. And then we've got associate programs, commercialization associate and R&D associate programs. That supplements the salary of an employee for up to 12 months. And what that does is it helps instill that the resources to, again, either work on the business side or support the technology and the product on the R&D associate side. And the final program, and then sort of moving along the path in terms of the client journey. And as you get closer to the market, you've got a product, you might have an initial customer. That's where the product demonstration program comes into play. And how about I pass that to Sandra, just because we're always revamping and trying to optimize our programs, and Sandra can comment on some changes and what that's going to look like moving forward.
For sure. All yours, Sandra.
I noticed before we got going, so didn't talk too long before noticing I was on mute. So as Mike said, the Alberta Innovates has been looking at revamping some of our very used programs, in the sense that we always are looking for where are we missing, what are the gaps that we're missing with respect to our programs to help our SMEs. And the product demonstration, or our P2P program, is just one of those programs that we recognize that there was an opportunity that companies, first of all, weren't necessarily taking advantage of the program in the way that it was originally designed. And we weren't getting the results and the impact, because impact is so important for us, and making sure that we're measuring that impact. So the P2P program is looking for the high potential, high growth companies, as Dana's already said, that are working on the technology, and supporting them to find that potential client or their potential customer. And it's so important for these companies not to be working in their closet in a small room and not looking outside about, hey, what's the market on this particular product? Where can I go with this product? Is anybody really willing to buy my product? And so the P2P program is really going to focus on finding an opportunity with a client, to find a strategic partner that can be the operational test site, if you will, of that technology, and potentially be the first buyer of that technology. Right. If you're building a product, you better have some place to sell it. And so this is what that program is really all about. And we are also looking at it as saying it doesn't need to be just in Alberta. If you have a strategic partner that's willing to test and operationalize your technology, and they happen to be in, I'll just throw it out there, Quebec, we're able to support you as an Alberta SME company to find and work with that partner in Quebec, to use that as your test site, to really put together your product and finalize that product. So that was the little bit of a hint when I was talking about what we're trying to do with the changes of global partnership, in that we really do want to expand the opportunities for SMEs to go into jurisdictions or countries, really, right, that you have a partner, and then that way you can ultimately sell.
Cool, thank you. Now, Dana, you've got a really cool backdrop there. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that? What's going on? What are we seeing?
So this is our technology scorecard, and yes, I needed something less plain behind me, so yes, I'll be the one to cover this. So
woohoo!
This basically just gives a really nice overview of the impact Alberta Innovates has had on the innovation ecosystem in Alberta. So this is for last year. We do have our new one coming out right away here. But number of new jobs created, the revenue created by our funding dollars. So basically for every $1 of Alberta Innovates funding, we are getting $6.29 of net revenue growth for the SMEs that we're funding. So a large impact on the ecosystem. A lot of job creation, and then follow-on investment, which is kind of our area, but also a ton of our companies are doing it on their own or using outside advisors. So for every $1 of investment we're putting in, can you hear me when I'm facing the other way?
Absolutely.
There is $29.83 of follow-on funding. So that can be public funding or private. So basically $1 from Alberta Innovates is having a huge impact on each of the companies we're working with and building a fast-growing technology ecosystem.
Wow.
No
go
kidding.
Alberta,
and
go.
Yeah. And Dana, I saw on your LinkedIn that you have some really cool programs that you're rolling out as well. Do you want to speak to those?
Yeah, so the main program that we're rolling out actually closes for applications November 13th. So if you're interested in learning more, connect with me or visit albertainnovates.ca to learn more. And that's the Product Scale-Up program. So that program gives $100,000 in funding, up to $100,000 in funding, to bring in a product associate. So that can be a chief product officer, product leader, to work with the leadership team of the company to develop product strategy, road mapping, do client input and adjustments according to that input, and really just level up the product within the company. So that one also provides training. We're working with the Scale Up Edge team. So they are out of New York, California, and actually Alberta, fortunately for us, to provide training as well. So there will be monthly training in the product management space. So how to measure the impact, how to plan your product out, plan where it's going, and how to work with the leadership team to make key product decisions. And that will go for the whole year, that product training, as a part of the program.
Cool.
Yeah.
So before we go on, I want to talk about business in general and Alberta and how things have changed and where things are going. But I do know that we have a few questions in the chat. So I'm going to answer some questions and then we'll take it to our next step here. So the first question I think I will direct to Mike. For Edmonton, there is a regional innovation network, Startup Edmonton Alberta Innovates. How are their roles distinguished?
So the Regional Innovation Network is funded by Alberta Innovates, and that enables the regional innovation partners. There's 76 partners in the 70s. There's quite a few partners locally, as well as a steering committee, and they'll look at the needs within the Edmonton area and try and develop programs and funding that can help those gaps in the local ecosystem. Startup Edmonton is partially funded by the Regional Innovation Network, and they're more focused on the really early stage companies. So if you've got your idea, what do, right? So working on a business model canvas, they've got great courses, pre-flight courses that help walk you through, I've got my idea, validate your idea and keep moving forward. And that's essentially a great pipeline to get to the stage where you can look at your business and say, I've gone through it. I've gone through the business model. I think I have something here. I'd like to maybe apply for a patent. I'm going to incorporate. I've got a team, and now I want to, get more serious and really take this forward. That's where Alberta Innovates gets involved.
And where can somebody go for more information on that?
So there is the Edmonton Regional Innovation Network website. You can go to Startup Edmonton and just get connected to the ecosystem. There's a lot of events that are going on. This is Startup Week, so this is the perfect time if you're looking at getting involved and getting into the ecosystem in the Edmonton region. Just reach out, make some connections, and then through that you'll be able to find the connections and be guided toward the right areas.
Thank you.
And I think, if I may, and to your earlier point, Mike, reach out to the TDAs. You guys can, like early stages, you guys can direct and help people navigate through the ecosystem.
Certainly, it's the key part is to get involved in the Edmonton ecosystem. So once you're in the ecosystem, stay involved. You're in contact with other entrepreneurs, other service providers. Ideally, with those conversations, they'll help guide you to the right connections. And by all means, reach out to the TDAs. There's 3 of us here in Edmonton, so reach out and we'll help you where we can. If we don't have the answers, we can help guide you toward the right people or try and find them.
Right. And now that applies to Edmonton. Obviously, that goes right across the board with all the innovation networks.
Exactly. Yeah. There's
same approach
around the province.
Right on.
So Kenzie has asked, and she must be a fellow Saskatchewanite like myself. She has asked, hi, everyone. Are these resources available in Saskatchewan as well? Sandra, do you want to answer? Do you happen to know? You are our global partnerships after all.
I wish I could tell you that they're available everywhere, but this is really focused. Our programs at Alberta Innovates and our technology development advisors, all of us are here to support the Alberta companies. And I know that there is some elements of places to go in Saskatchewan, but they don't necessarily have the same programs and the structure that we do here, and the focus of how much we focus on the regional networks. Dana, do you know of anyone else?
So there's Saskatchewan Research Council, but they are more on the R&D side. I'm not familiar with any companies that are on that scale-up side or any organizations that do the scale-up side. But now I'm curious, so maybe we can get your information and follow up after and see if there's anything.
Great
or
idea.
alternatively, Kenzie could come to Alberta and start a
Come on
business.
The next one is also for you, Sandra, from Philip. Are there future international markets beyond China and Mexico for potential partnerships?
Yeah, good question. We are always looking for all kinds of jurisdictions, and we're looking for friendly jurisdictions that can and have the same mindset that we do with respect to supporting and advancing this small, medium-sized enterprise. So we're always looking. We have had some great connections in countries such as Korea, Japan, and generally Southeast Asia. But also in the UK and Europe, we are definitely see great strengths in some of the partnerships that we've developed there, and have kind of just started the early stage, because what we want to do is find an opportunity to leverage the funding as best we possibly can to stretch your dollar and your investment as well as ours that much further. So we're looking for those partnerships that we can have a trusted relationship with, that are equally supportive of the same mindset that we do with respect to making sure it's non-dilutive funding. The growth of our companies is most important, and really to the later stage of the TRL, where we're really helping the companies get some traction in that market, and that's really our focus.
Sandra, you said TRL. What is that?
Yeah, our technology readiness level. Anyone that's ever developed technology, it's a pretty much standard term developed by NASA. So yeah, we abbreviate that, and there's a levels from 1 to 9, generally speaking, and each of them from the very early and to research right to product commercialization is the number 9.
Thank you for that.
Yes, all the abbreviations out to Alberta Innovates. We have so many more questions coming in, and this is great. Please keep asking them in the chat, everyone. I'm going to ask one more right now, and then we're going to move on to business during COVID, and then we'll ask some more later. So Christian asks, is there access to pre-seed capital to aid a young startup at the ideation/creation of MVP stage? Specifically, small sums of capital to test viability of an idea, 10 to 25K. Take it away, anyone.
Oh, I can take that one, and potentially, right? So it depends if you're. Sounds like you've been doing some work. Are you incorporated or not? To get involved with Alberta Innovates, you need to be incorporated, and again, that proof of concept and some idea of a business model. So sounds like you're right on the verge there, and that's where our micro voucher program could be applied. Perhaps. We also have had other programs coming out with Alberta Lean Stack Accelerator program, where we're looking at supporting these early stage companies that and helping them work out that product market fit. Along with that, there was some funding for the Alberta Digital Traction, supported by Alberta Digital Traction funding to enable some of that funding. Those programs are underway right now. They're pilot programs. Hopefully, if they are successful, we can see them return. The initial funding, getting back to the question, could be out of your own pocket right now until you get to that stage where you're incorporated and are eligible for Alberta Innovates.
Great, thanks, Mike. So let's move on to the topic that is, right at hand, and everybody's sick of hearing about it, but it's our life right now, COVID. We obviously are going through a global pandemic, and business has changed, resources have changed, and I want to hear what we are doing to support small businesses and startups during the COVID stage. Who wants to take this one on first? Dana, you haven't talked in a while. Should I flip it to you?
I haven't talked in a while, and I can add on, but I think Sandra is the woman for this job. So
I like the passing the buck that we've got going, you guys. This is great. So what is business like? What are we doing? How are we helping?
So I'll start with what we're doing for our clients. So in the Executive Business Advisor program, what we initially did is kind of took a survey of where our clients were at, so how they were being impacted. Everyone was impacted in different ways. Very few of our clients were impacted in a positive way. Some were, which is incredible. Most were not. So what we did was, instead of raising capital, because right now, you're not getting the valuation you want because of COVID, there's been a real hit on valuation for most companies. We focused on how we could keep them going on revenue. So could they pivot operations to bring in capital more quickly in the form of revenue versus external investment? We also took a stronger look at public funding. There is a ton of public funding available for technology across Canada, in Alberta especially. So we did that. A lot of it was just figuring out a way to scale down operations to make it through this period in time. And unfortunately, this period continues. So continuing to do that with them and work together to figure out solutions to keep them going and other ways to pivot. A lot of our companies are finding new ways to make money so they can survive this. And that is the entrepreneur's life. You're constantly adapting to changes in your environment. So really helping with that. And Sandra, maybe you'd like to talk about our WD funding to help with this. And you're muted.
Thank you,
Sandra
Dana.
and me, hey, with our microphones.
I know.
Yeah, I just don't want to disturb the conversation by having my mic on. So yeah, thanks, Dana. The WD funding, Western Economic Diversification, the federal program, is really focused on relief and recovery and supporting companies that are SMEs through this stage of COVID. So many things have been impacted. They've been impacted by loss of staff, their momentum of their development, and so many other elements of it. And so what we're focusing in on are a couple of different things. We really are going back to, as Mike was saying earlier, the regional innovation networks across the province of Alberta, and using them and having them support the programs and delivery of different programs like GrowthX. In GrowthX program, I won't bore you with the details because there's a lot of details to it. Visit our website for that information. Get connected as quickly as you can. Register now. The push is on. We need to get these things out and people registered really quickly. So look to our website for that information. We also have the Innovation Relief and Recovery Program that, again, is set out to supporting the SMEs, finding a service provider to help them find ways that can help them as they are recovering through COVID. Again, as I said, the main focus with all of our programs is to continue with the development that SMEs are working on today. Try not to lose the momentum that they're working on. So if they need to do some re-engineering, this money is part of it. So it's a $10,000 grant. There's no contribution required on this one of the rare ones that we are offering. So it's a really good one to get into. It's a call process. So our call is open until November 2nd. And again, if you're interested, contact your TDA. Mike is just one of those guys that can help guide you through what the requirements are and what kind of service that you can service provider you can hire to really do that work, that scope of work. The other ones, as I said, is a little bit more about the resources and making sure that you as an Alberta company know where to go to find some resources. If you're struggling, we want to help. We want to find resources that help you get through this very difficult time. Make sure that your staff are healthy, that their mindset is healthy as well as their bodies are healthy. So those are programs and initiatives that we're pulling together with a series of guest speakers that can help all the way from finance to, as I said, health and wellness, and really just kind of giving you the opportunities to listen to even other companies that are feeling the same pain that you are and how are they getting through it. So we're just putting together all of those resources, and again, our website, we will hope to have those kinds of resources available to companies within the next few weeks. So as I said, come back to see us and we'll give you some more information.
Yeah, so I think the resource, a valuable resource is the website, as you've indicated. So if people go to albertainnovates.ca, you can search up a lot of these different programs, GrowthX, Technology Development Advisors, Executive Business Advisors, and it'll get you there to where you need to go and then register with a TDA. I think to Christian's question earlier on, reach out to Mike or reach out to the TDA in your jurisdiction, start that relationship, start the conversation. How are the questions looking, Katie?
They are coming in, but I have a question that I'm hoping doesn't throw anyone off. On LinkedIn this morning, there was an article that was posted about COVIDpreneurs. That's our new catch line. And so and this is a United States stat, but they were saying that business applications have gone up this year despite COVID. So they're looking at 3.2 million business applications as opposed to last year's 2.7. And when I read that, I was floored. But then I was thinking, entrepreneurs and startups, they often come out of difficulty and adversity. So are you guys seeing the same trend happening in Alberta, or is this complete like new news to you?
I would say that we are definitely seeing it in Alberta. You had a lot of companies that made the change from, creating alcoholic beverages to hand sanitizer, right? So definitely stepping up and changing. There's companies that are looking at manufacturing face masks. Let's see, what else is there? Face masks.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure.
Yeah, well, there's
pivoting,
visors as well as the face masks, right? And then there is there's companies that are working on technologies in terms of ensuring social distancing, within airports, within public places, and also, if you think about going into a restaurant, there's companies that are working on technologies to scan people coming in or to be able to register employees walking into their workplace. So there's a lot of companies. I mean, it's been definitely a tough go. So companies have, but they've adapted to these and found opportunities in these challenges. So definitely a lot of transition happening and a lot of opportunity.
And one of the comments on that article was talking about creative destruction, which I think is what we call failing fast, and how startups, they more than half don't make it 5 years. Is that still a thing? So do you think that that's going to, just because COVID's not going to be around forever, hopefully, right? We should be seeing some semblance of normal eventually. So do you think that, these companies that have pivoted, do you think that they will be the half that don't make it, or do you have more hope? Well, Dana's shaking her head over there.
I think
go ahead, Mike.
They can survive. I mean, pivoting is the epitome of being an entrepreneur, right? If you can take the hits and do something else with it and keep going, I mean, those are the people that are going to make it. It's the ones that go, oh, this happened to me and poor me, and I couldn't possibly go on after this, that are not going to make it. I think it's the ones that take this for an entrepreneur, to be honest. Like, there's just so many barriers, right? So if they can pivot to make it through this, they'll be fine, I think.
It's that entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
It gives them the opportunity to also look at, just look, be observant. Entrepreneurs always have something else going on in the back of their mind, that going, oh, I didn't realize that was a problem. We've seen a company that has some technology that seen these lineups into the early stage of lineups, and they go, I could create an app that allows you to basically take a ticket, like if you're going into a deli, and be the next person up. And so an entrepreneur thinks of all kinds of different things and different ways to solve a problem. And I think that that's why you're seeing a growth in SMEs and ideas coming out, is because somebody sees the problem and they have an idea of how to solve it. And that's where we really want to help them and nurture them as they go through that journey.
That's a really interesting point, because there's probably a lot of people out there who wouldn't define themselves as entrepreneurs, but they're those problem solvers. So listen, folks, there's an opportunity for a career change here somewhere.
Great. So we have a couple more questions in the chat, so maybe I'll ask them. Howard asks, can you talk about programs for startups that have experienced founders, not looking for basic training, but funding and support that doesn't dilute ownership?
So that's going to be our programs that are all the funding it's non-dilutive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's an experienced founder, again, it has to be a technology or knowledge-based company, but it depends where you are along the journey, and that's why I encourage talking to a TDA to see where that fit is with, what company stage are you at, and then we can see the alignment between our programs. But that's where, we call them the big 5 programs that you refer to. Most times there's going to be a fit in there somewhere. But the idea is, and this is what I tell the entrepreneurs that I meet is, you create your business roadmap, for the next 2 years, and that's your plan. And don't worry about me, don't worry about Alberta Innovates. This is your plan. That's what you need to get there. And then what we do from there is we see how we can support you to make it happen, right? So you've got your plan in place, and then we see where the alignments are with the support that we have.
Great. Sandra, Dana, do you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think most of our programming, a lot of our founders are experienced and they know to come to AI, right? Like that non-dilutive, it may be work to fill out the application, but it has a huge impact and it's a heck of a lot easier than completing a term sheet and doing a raise. So I think all of those programs, even if you are experienced, I think if I had a tech company, they're essential, right? So the coaching, I mean, that just comes, we have a huge experience in our team, right? A lot of us have worked in the tech space that came here before, right? So I think the coaching is just an added bonus to the non-dilutive capital you get from Alberta Innovates.
And that's the component of that coaching community and capital kind of tagline, so to speak, that
nice
the
little plug
entrepreneurial
there,
side.
John. Yeah. So the next question is from Michael. How frequently does the product demonstration program run? I've seen that the current intake closes on October 23rd.
So good question, Mike. We are working on relaunching the program in a call basis, whereby we will have a 2-step process in applications. We call it the expression of interest as the stage 1. Passing the competitive stage 1 of the EOI really helps us know that you've got the right, you're in the right place in your technology development levels in our TRLs. We want to make sure that you're in the 8 or 9, so you're really at that later stage where you have and are ready to be selling your product. And we want to make sure that you have a valid strategic partner, not just a strategic partner that signs a letter and then says, yeah, I kind of support you, but I'm not really ready to buy. We want really a strong strategic partner, and we want to see that in the expression of interest, or that you've got that mindset. And then we'll go through to the next the full application process, and that application process again will give that more detailed description of what your project looks like. What are you doing in your project? And we will still be continuing to process on milestones. So we don't give all the money up front in this particular program. This program will need you to show us that you've completed some milestones along what you're trying to do in the technology demonstration, and some tweaking in the development, but very light in the development. I want to stress that. And it's really making sure that your strategic partner is helping you get to that point that it's valid. It's a validation of that technology. So the 2-step program will really start happening, here in the fall. We were hoping to get it launched at the end of October. We might be pushing that out just a week or so to do our EOI on our first EOI the beginning of November. But stay tuned to our website for that more information.
Thanks, Sandra. We have one more question that just came in, and I think it's kind of a hot topic, but what the heck, let's take it. How can we convince politicians to invest more in entrepreneurs? And I think that we should take this a step further, not just politicians, but how can we encourage people to see the value in investing in entrepreneurs in general?
Who, me?
Dana.
Take it away, Dana.
I'll just pull it out from under my desk. I honestly think it's a lot of showcasing what we've done already. Like, we've made a huge impact on the economy, we being our tech entrepreneurs. We're creating jobs. We are creating new revenue streams that we've never had in Alberta before. I think a lot of it is just highlighting what we're doing. So politicians and others can see. I mean, there are still a lot of people who don't know who Alberta Innovates is, and what better body to consolidate these stories and share them with the public so they know the possibility from working in the tech space. And Candie, here's your chance to plug Learn How again.
I was waiting for that. Thank you, Dana. Yes, I'm not an expert like Dana in our tech entrepreneur world, but I do really think, and I feel passionately about Alberta and Alberta Innovates and the work that we're doing, as well as just innovation in general, because I do see that what we're doing is not only impacting our communities, it's impacting our province, our country, our world. Drank some Kool-Aid, but I'm okay with it there. So definitely go to learnhow.albertainnovates.ca and plug your story in. We want to hear about all the innovation across Alberta, because the more we can collectively raise our voices, the better off we'll all be, and the more convincing we will be to politicians and other investors and etc. So John, did you want to take?
No, I was just going to say that, to echo your points, I think that's great. We need that united voice,
Yeah.
and that's all of the organizations, the SMEs, the entrepreneurs, us, to really tell the story of how the province innovates. And we got a lot of stuff going on. It's exciting and it's cool. And
so
on that note,
that's how you build a gazelle. Everyone, you contact Mike, Sandra, and Dana, and they will help you with your company and growing. So if there's no more questions, and I don't see any more in the chat, I think we will wrap it up.
Sandra and Mike, you don't have a soapbox that you want to get on about spreading the word?
Actually, I will. If I have a second, I will make a comment.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Look at Alberta over the past 5, 7, 10 years, and you look at the shift that's taken place. There is momentum that is definitely increasing. So, 5 years ago, Edmonton and Calgary weren't pulling in the same direction, and they are now, right? So there is a shift overall in terms of entrepreneurs and startups. That momentum is taking place. There's tremendous change every year, and I think even with COVID and with the energy prices, being what they are and what's happened over the past few months there, it's made it even more apparent to all levels of government that innovation is key. And I think that message is getting through, and we just keep moving forward. But it's the stories. There's been innovation. There's stories and there's companies in Alberta that are massive, successful companies you've never heard of. Right. So it's just a matter of getting those stories out and letting everybody know that there is innovation happening in Alberta.
Yeah. Let's do it.
That was my soapbox.
I liked it.
and to our caller or person that put the email in or the question earlier about Saskatchewan, that's what makes Alberta so great is programs like what we are offering here at Alberta Innovates and our network, because I can't speak enough about the network that we do have. If we don't know something, we reach out. We reach out to the people that do know the answers, that have the ability to help us out to find the best path for companies and where they're going. We can't do it all, and we understand that, but we'll sure as heck help you as much as we possibly can to make you successful. And innovation is everywhere. It is in everything that we do. And we look for those, high potential, high growth kind of companies that have the opportunity to be millionaires, billionaires, and selling to the Googles and the Amazons and the Microsofts of the world. We want them because everything that Apple doesn't build their own technology necessarily. They buy it. And a lot of other big companies do too. So that's why innovation is so important, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it is, the Internet of Things, all of these elements really do help the technology grow. And I'm just happy to be here at Alberta Innovates to help the SMEs along their path and journey.
Oh, this has spurred some more questions, you guys. So thank you, Sandra.
Yes.
A couple more here. Can we reach out to TDAs from a relatively early business stage to get advice on navigating the supports available in our area? I think Mike answered that a little bit earlier, but yes, head over to albertainnovates.ca and reach out to Mike.
Just a quick note, type in Technology Development Advisors. It'll take you to the list.
Actually, John, if you're really early, you just go to the Connect With Us form on our website. And what that'll do is get you into our system, and there'll be a screening mechanism to, if you're too early, then, we'll provide other areas, other places to go. Otherwise, if you are a fit, then you'll get in contact with the TDA. That's probably the best start, just because there's only 10 TDAs and there's hundreds of companies, so it's overwhelming sometimes.
Now, Mike, they can find the Connect With Us functionality on the Technology Development Advisor page, correct?
Good question, John.
Aha, I'm going to do a little research just to make sure.
It's somewhere on our website.
Well, John is typing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while they're figuring that out, Howard has another question here. Are there any programs that help you with sales or hiring salespeople?
That would be the Commercialization Associate program, and that is it helps to support an employee that's driving the growth of the company. So it could be a sales position, a finance position, a CEO position. So it really depends on what line of business is the company in, what's the stage of their technology, where are they in terms of generating revenues and so forth. So that would probably be the best fit within our programs.
Great. And shout out to Lan who typed in Dana, Mike, and Sandra. You all rock. Thank you. Lan is Startup Edmonton, correct? Yeah. Yes. So thank you. Tech Edmonton. Tech Edmonton. That's it. So, John, I keep catching you on the corner of my eye.
I was doing my research. So
Great.
If people go to albertainnovates.ca, programs, technology development advisors, that's really tough to articulate. Technology development advisors. You'll see a link to connect to the TDA now. So click on that and do what Mike suggested, and we'll get the ball rolling. So I think that's really the key message here is reach out, whether you're starting your journey, whether you're in the middle of your journey, wherever you are on your innovation journey, reach out. I'm sure there's a place where we can fit in to help you, a place we can point you to help you navigate through this. That's what we're here for.
Great. On that note, I say we wrap it up. Thank you all very much for being on our panel today as part of Startup Week. And for everyone else, I'm going to plug it again. Please go to learnhow.albertainnovates.ca and share your story of innovation. Thank you all.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.